Yo, what's up, everybody? Здравствуйте. Saturday night, how's everybody doing? Watching the fights? All right, let's talk, folks. Going to do a little economics. We're going to do a little current events with the Ukraine situation. More shelling of eastern Ukraine, Donbass, Donetsk. Actually, today it was reported, I saw some reports of some shelling actually going over into Russia, into the Rostov region. No reaction from Russia. Putin was on site at some nuclear drills. I mean, they're taking a barrage right now. I don't think anything's going to happen. I mean, they're literally having shelling into Russia now. This is not even in the separatist region of Ukraine and the Donbass. I mean, there's you know, there's artillery fire that is falling into Russia. Now, just imagine if that was happening in the United States. That's all I'm saying. Like, imagine if Mexico was firing artillery into Texas or Arizona, or imagine if Canada was firing artillery into, I don't know, Montana or North Dakota or something like that. I mean, come on. Or Washington State. You think the United States would just sit there? No, I mean, it'd be like immediate militarization and take out the threat. Putin's scared, man. He's not doing anything. He's not going to do anything. I'm telling you. Before 2014, in the pre-sanction era, you saw how quick he was in Georgia and in Crimea. But once the sanctions hit, and then there's been iterations of sanctions, one after another, and now sanctions from hell being, U.S. is and Europe now talking about anything now. You do anything, you get sanctioned. He doesn't want to do it. There must be, I'm trying to understand this, the mentality, and I know there's been a lot written about, Putin, he's playing three-dimensional chess. No, I don't think so. I could be wrong. Leave your comments if you think I'm wrong. I think he's afraid. I think there's elements, I think there's two elements within Russia. I think one, there's a military element, and they must be really, really frustrated because I think they want to just fucking wipe out the Ukrainian forces. They want to go right now. But then I think there's the oligarchic elements within Russia that are saying, look, man, we don't want any more sanctions. Like, it's tough enough already. Yeah, we've been able to deal so far with what has been applied to us, but you can't do this. Like, I think there's elements, Western-leaning elements, and I could be wrong, but this is my assessment. I think there could be Western powerful, let's call it, moneyed interests, okay? Powerful moneyed interests, elements within Russia who are close to Putin, who are saying, look, man, we're not going to be able to handle this. It's going to fuck up our business. It's going to fuck up, our trade with the West, all this kind of stuff. And I think he's holding off. That's my perspective. I could be completely wrong. In the next couple of days, like Biden is saying, Russia's going to invade. And it was the headline of Drudge Report. He's going all the way to Kiev. I don't see that happening. I mean, they're literally bombing Russia right now. And he's sitting there, supposedly with 200,000 troops and tanks and missiles and jets and everything. He's just fucking sitting there. To me, that's like, come on. What are you going to do, bro? What are you going to do? Now's the time to do it. If you're going to do anything, he's not going to do anything. That's my take. Anyway, that's my take. A lot of people out here are Russia-phobes. I just don't understand that. But, I mean, some of you maybe have lived under, Soviet Union communism. I don't know. Like, I don't have your perspective, so I don't see it through that lens. But, I'm listening. Maybe you lived in a former Soviet state. I mean, I have guys, from I have subscribers from Lithuania, from, Eastern Europe, from East Germany, and so they have a different perspective, and I understand that. Anyway, let's talk a little economics, folks. In the week ending, the latest banking data in the week ending February 9th, loans up 16.8 billion in the week. That is the biggest increase in 2 months, okay? Credit card loans, and by the way, that is the fastest. Loans now are growing at the fastest rate in 2 years. Credit card loans, people tapping credit, right? Credit and revolving credit. That increased and is now growing at the fastest rate in 4 years. So even though we have had a reduction in the fiscal flows, which yours truly told you was going to happen, but I also said that bank credit will fill the void at least for a period of time. What is that period of time? Well, we don't know. All I've been saying is that if you look at household debt service burdens, in other words, how tough is it to meet your monthly nut every month, that is at a very low level. Now, I mean, it's at an historically low level. Not like in 2007 when it was at an historically high level. But we know the Fed is going to raise interest rates. This is going to raise the cost of servicing that debt. That's happening next month. We're less than a month away from that rate hike, which is going to be like probably a 50 basis point rate hike. And so that will have an effect. I still think because, debt service burdens are so historically low, I mean, it's going to take some time to get to a level to, I guess, negatively impact borrowing. But right now, that tapping the credit lines is what is sustaining consumption. And again, I said, because you had the big buildup in business inventories in the fourth quarter, that stuff is all going to get sold. Like at first I thought, man, that's just going to sit on the shelves, because in January I got very caught up in the surplus that we had in January, the budget surplus. But now I'm seeing fiscal is strong and bank credit is strong. So I think companies are going to be able to sell that inventory, and that's going to lead to record profits. And the stock market's going to react to that. But in the meantime, we come back to this situation of the war in Ukraine. I try as hard as I can to search and find alternative news media sites. Folks, if you're listening to, CNN and MSNBC and ABC and Fox, you're not getting, you got to go online and try to find, I listen to people who are there on site in the Donbass. And there's YouTube videos and there's Twitter feeds of people there. And I think it gives you, I'm not saying that is the truth, but you got to try to get a more truthful perspective of what is going on, because you're not going to get that from the mainstream media. You're just not going to get that. Now, yesterday I talked about how the United States broke its promise to Russia back in 1990 with respect to no further eastern expansion of NATO. And those promises, and that's documented. I'm going to put the link. This was a Freedom of Information Act request from the NSA archives. I'm going to put the link if you want to read it. What it's called, the document is entitled "What Gorbachev Was Told" by Bush, James Baker, a bunch of European officials, etc. Now, a promise I understand, because people are now saying, well, that was not a treaty. You know, a treaty is different than a promise. Treaties are used as a legal instrument, you know, an agreement between two parties, like a contract. But folks, come on. Treaties are broken all the time. Trump withdrew from the INF, the nuclear treaty. He withdrew from the Iraq deal. I mean, like, treaties are broken all the time, just like promises are broken all the time, just like contracts. Look, a promise is a promise. I'm sorry, that's just me. That's just the way I am. I believe if you make a promise, you keep the promise. It's a reflection of your character. And it could be a reflection of the character of a nation or the governance, the leadership of that nation. Clinton was the one that broke the promise. Now, you know, we can debate saying, oh, that was not a treaty, and so it wasn't enforceable, and blah, 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 blah. And so we didn't promise anything. Okay, well, that's fine. You're allowed to say that. Anyone's allowed to say that. I have a different view on these things. And, you know, I want my country to be an honorable country. I want my country to be an honorable country. And I feel like we've been slipping down over the years, and it's about total reign. In other words, total supremacy. And that is a position we've been in since the end of the Cold War, but the reality of the world right now is that you got China rising. Russia is not the Russia of 1990. It's not the Soviet Union either. That's another thing. A lot of you people who view it through the lens of the Soviet Union, it's not the Soviet Union anymore. All right? And some of you, as I mentioned earlier, who may have been living under that system, it's not that system anymore. But again, I understand your sensibilities on this. I really do. I really do. So anyway, getting back to economics, I think the market is very, very undervalued right now. I think that obviously market psychology and sentiment is really negative. How can it not be? I don't blame people. They're scared, they're frightened, so they sell out. They sell out. They seek safety. But what is safety? I mean, for me, you look at the long term of the stock market. We've been through wars, we've been through depressions, we've been through recessions, we've been through changes of leadership, assassinations, right? All kinds of crazy things. And it's just been like a steady upward climb because it's a growth function. It represents the growth of a society, the growth of innovation, corporate profits that flow from that. The desire of people, it's just the inherent desire of people to do better generation after generation. You want to stand on the shoulders of the prior generation. And this is not, you know, like a system like North Korea where it's you know, everything is squashed down and just, you know, a few people, and it's a militaristic and you could be killed for speaking out. No, with all the faults that exist, and also with all the inequality that exists, and I will mention that, you know, that should not go without saying. It's still a place where there's going to be growth. There's going to be growth. You know, that's almost like the mantra of this country. I mean, if you want to criticize it from an inequality standpoint, it's kind of like, you know, the field is open and it's yours, and it's an ownership society. Remember that? The ownership society. And if you're not in that, you're going to be left out. And the best way to participate in an ownership society is through the stock market, and it's going to keep on going up. And these periods of time where it's punctuated by fear and panic and high emotion, I mean, that's when you got to step up. Those are the times when, this is like a gift, put out to you on a silver platter. Russia's not going to do anything. I'm telling you right now. Don't be afraid. Go in and plunge. Okay? Have a great evening, whatever, morning. See you tomorrow. Bye.